Hey Scott, the movie we're going to talk about today is something that has a lot of interest to me for a very particular reason. This is a movie called The Arbors, and it was done back in 2020. The director is Clayton Whitmer. The writers were Clayton Whitmer and Chelsea Cummings. What the reason this is interesting to me, especially in what we're trying to accomplish in developing our movie, is that I read that this movie was originally filmed for $14,000, I believe,
Yes, that is
and
correct.
post production of 11,000. So somehow they pulled off an incredible feat in the visuals and progressing the story on effectively $25,000.
So I'm going to tell you, I was blown away by what they were able to do with that little budget, Synthel. And what I was really blown away with, it was not one of those films that was single location for most of it. It moved around. And I was going, how did they pull that off for that? I just have no idea. And I would even say that the special effects for that budget, I can't understand how they pulled that off. I just can't.
I don't either. The creature effects, the fire effects that were in there.
Yes.
The creature effects in particular, as the story progresses in the movie, it's pretty incredible. I love to talk to the director and the writers here to figure out how they pulled it off, because
oh yeah,
their approach, this is the dream of every small budget horror movie director is to create a movie that doesn't look or feel like a small budget movie.
Well, not only did they pull it off with the cinematography, the music, the atmosphere buildup, they pulled it off with the characters. The characters did a remarkable job of making this film pull together and work.
Yeah, it's a really good point. We've talked about movies in the past where we don't really have a connection to the character. We don't really care.
Yeah.
They live or die, and our interest in the movie wanes as a result. But the characters in this movie there's some difficult scenes that they have to pull off and make you care about what happens to the characters. There isn't really a true protagonist and an antagonist. It's kind of a gray area. Everybody does bad things. Everybody does good things. Ultimately, some do more horrific things than others. So that also had to be convincing to the audience. So they were able to show us that the morality is very gray, and it shifts throughout the movie based on the circumstances that the characters involved in.
Yes, and here's the other thing: they did this in 25 days.
Yeah.
I'm blown away that they were able to film this in 25 days. Okay, so I've got to ask you a question, because this is something that I've been thinking about ever since I watched this film. Was the creature real, or was it in his mind?
Gosh, that's a fascinating question. What do you think?
So I almost take it as that this creature was an excuse for him to release his sociopathic tendencies, right? So to kill these people. And that the creature wasn't the killer, it was him all along. And the creature was a psychosomatic, or whatever it was, a projection of his mind, and that it gave him the freedom to become what he wanted to be by using the excuse of this weird spider-like creature, right? I could be way wrong. The director and writer could probably come back and go, oh my God, you are so way off. But I kind of felt that, but I don't know.
I hadn't thought about when I was watching the movie, but when I think about it now, especially the very final scene, it really makes me wonder. The only scene that would really make me question whether that perhaps was real, there's a scene where people effectively in white hazmat suits are going inside the house and don't necessarily all of them survive. But it's ambiguous enough that you assume as an audience that those people who died are as a result of the creature. We don't actually see it happen. So
right.
It's definitely been him, and he definitely is losing connection with reality. He is losing connection with his family, and he's losing his job. He clearly has had a lot of problems connecting with what's around him. And he loses it further and further as the movie goes along. He loses his grip on reality. So maybe it's not. Maybe in fact it was all imagined. I'd love to talk to the director and writers and see what their intent was.
So another scene I loved in this was the nest, and again, so well done, right? So well done. And I was just blown away by that, right? And more importantly, Simple, they made it was a 2 hour movie.
Yep.
For less than $30,000 that kept me watching from beginning to end and not regretting a moment of watching. I thought it was brilliantly done.
Yeah, I definitely caught my interest, and it kept my interest. The thing I was really starting to wonder is how they pulled it off. As I was watching the creature scenes near the end, I started thinking,
Yes,
these miniatures that are very cleverly filmed. It couldn't have been CGI. They didn't have the budget for it. However, they pulled it off. It as a aspiring amateur filmmakers that we are, I kept asking, how did they pull off what they did? What were the cinematic effects? What were the practical effects that helped them pull this off? But beyond that, the story held together and it kept my interest. And the characters did a great job of selling the circumstances that they were in the context. And here's a fascinating aspect of that we've consistently run across these gems that are small budget, low budget, not really well known, and are on a streaming service that in many cases we accidentally discover.
yes.
And turned out to be just fantastic movies that you would never otherwise know, even by looking at movie lists, that you should be watching these because they're really good.
I would have paid for this in a theater and not have had a problem with paying for this. So Senthil, and I think we've been pretty clear on this, but would you say watch this or nay?
Absolutely. Not only would I say watch this, but I would love to talk to the director and the writers of this movie and figure out how they did what they did. And I would definitely recommend it to others as well. And I think it fits right into our niche because we're, in our goal to discover these small budget, early filmmakers who are pulling off amazing things. This fits the bill.
This is a gem, and I have to tell you, I am really looking forward to Clayton Whitmer directs another film. And Chelsea Cummings, if it was Clayton and Chelsea who wrote this, hats off to them on not only the writing, but the directing and the absolute, what I would say, treat of 2 hours for under $30,000. So, Senthil, I'm going to say this, and it's probably one of the best horror movies we've reviewed on here for that low of a budget, right? I mean, we're talking under 30 grand and total treat. Senthil, as always, a pleasure to talk to you today about the Arbors, and I cannot wait for next time.
Looking forward to next time.